Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Big Bold You, a show that was created to help every person out there. And yes, we are talking to you. We're talking to your friends and your family to be bigger. And believe me, in order to be bigger and to play bigger, you have to think bigger first. We want to help inspire you to be bolder, which means you are going to have to take action and you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone and you're going to have to do things that you don't believe you can do, but I promise you, you can do it. So you can become the best version of you. I believe that we live in a world where there is a war between good and evil, and the only way evil wins is when good people don't do enough. So every week we have an incredible guest that comes on that shares their journey, shares the things that they've had to overcome, some obstacles, some struggles, things that they've done to think bigger and be bolder and really share their secrets to success, as well as share what they do to bless the world and make it a better place. So this week we are so excited to have on the show with us Senior Vice President Lesley Wilson, and we're going to be talking not just about ups and downs and success and hard times, but we're also going to be talking about women and money. So please help me welcome to the show Lesley Wilson.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Okay, so you're one of the most sincere, authentic, sweet, and at the same time, extremely intelligent women I know.
Oh, well, thank you.
And you just exude greatness that comes out of you. But I know you, just like everybody else, you've had struggles, you've had ups and you've had downs. But before we jump into all of those, just share with our viewers just a little bit about who you are, what you do, and kind of what makes you tick.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. Well, I started with a new company, started a whole new career 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And prior to that, I had an office job and I was great with the people right around me, but I didn't really reach out. If people were in my inner circle, they really clawed their way in to get there, so to speak, Mm-hmm. And so when I started a new career and they were saying, you work harder on yourself than you do in your business, the business will come. How true that was, because I didn't really realize there's life out there.
Oh, right.
And so I had to overcome a lot of those hurdles that said, you can't do it, you're not good enough, you're not worthy to do this, this is meant for somebody bigger than you, And so, we always have that little devil on one shoulder and a little angel on the other, and my angel was silent.
Yeah.
But my devil was screaming at me.
Isn't that the way it is sometimes, though? It's like, you're like, hold on a second. And it truly is that way. I mean, it truly is the angel and devil, because it's like I said, we're in a war between good and evil.
Yeah.
And we are constantly being pulled by both of those forces. So you're listening, I shouldn't say you're listening, but you are hearing the devil. And
That's what I heard.
Where and when did you start to hear, listen, yeah, you can do whatever it is you want to do. Yes, you are smart enough to do something new. Don't be afraid to try it. When did you start to hear those voices?
It took time. I was hanging around with the right people. And the more and more that I associated with those types of people, the more my own self-worth and confidence grew. And it was people saying, my CEO especially, you read these things and you build yourself. As a matter of fact, I have a bracelet that says, always be building. And, that's your confidence. It's your skill level. It's your knowledge. It's your team. It's every single part of you, because it's not just one piece of you. It's all of you kind of put together. And when you start getting those things in place, what is that statement? Luck favors the prepared.
Right. Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah. And so when you start lining those things up, then all of a sudden opportunities start showing up that you would not have anticipated before.
Well, one of the things I say all the time is there are absolute truths in life. And it's like you can believe them or you can resist them and not believe them. You can argue, but they're whatever you believe or you don't believe, they're true.
Absolutely.
And one of those absolute truths you touched on, which is you're either growing or you're declining. And it just is. I mean, that's just a fact. And I think once we accept that as a fact, then we can look at every day and say, okay, today, how am I going to grow?
Right.
What am I going to do? And, we were talking right before we started about what's the best way to start your day. Well, what is the best way that you start your day? Let us know. But we both like to start our day with working out, working out, meditation, planning, whatever it might be. But when you get up and you start your day proactively and productively, it impacts the rest of your day.
Sure, with intention.
With intention. That's exactly right. You've got to live with intention.
Yeah.
So I want to know, what was it 4 years ago that made you decide, I'm going to leave this career behind and I'm going to get into what you are into and share with everybody what you are into?
Well, I dealt with numbers my entire adult life, and I came from a family of business owners, and so my dad had taught me some things, and then I had always been in corporate America on the money side, and I thought I knew everything that was available to me for long-term planning. And I had met someone that worked for this company, and they said, come to one of our classes and see what it is that we teach. And I went in, honestly, with a little bit of a cavalier attitude, thinking, what are they possibly going to tell me that I don't already know? Now,
Right.
I mean, how conceited was that for me to even think that way in the first place? It's not like there's nothing new to learn.
Right.
And I go in, it was only about an hour long, and they called it infotainment because it was information, but it was entertaining, and they were telling jokes and keeping it light. And so it was unlike any class that I had ever sat in before, but I took notes, and at the end, I looked at my notes and I thought, you've got to be kidding me. How has this always been an option my entire life? And I had no clue.
Right.
And I thought, if I don't know this, then there's a lot of people that don't know this. And so I went in and I said, I want to work with you. How do I do that? And, it's quite a stretch to go from one type of business and career and life that you've known into a completely separate type of industry. And so I kept my full-time job. For 9 months. I kept doing numbers every single day and making payroll and collecting, because I was in accounts receivable too. And so I was doing all my stuff, but I started building a business on the side. And after 9 months, I was able to walk in and say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to pursue my route, one that doesn't limit me, one that says, my income is mine, my time is mine, and one that built me up.
I think that when you get into the world where you realize I can determine how much money I make, it's a life-changing experience.
It's scary and liberating
All at the same
simultaneously.
time, right? Because I think that's one of the benefits of being in the world of entrepreneurship, and like you said, it's one of the scary parts about being in as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you really understand that if you put in the work, it's not if you're going to succeed, it's just when you're going to succeed.
It's a matter of time.
It's just a matter of time. But again, it goes back to that belief system. So when you were presented this opportunity, and really it just kind of fell into your lap, were you ready at that time? Had you been reading books and struggling with that devil and that angel? Had you already really kind of gone past a plateau, or was it the opportunity that really moved you in the direction where you are right now?
It was that opportunity that pushed me and propelled me to go this route because, I'd maybe read a book here and there over the last 10, 15, 20 years. Should I even
I know,
say that?
but isn't that so crazy? Because it's like you read when you're in school, and then you graduate. What if it's high school or college or graduate or whatever, and then you're like, I'm never reading it.
Yeah, and then, but that's the truth.
It's
What
the
is it, the
truth.
statistic that 50% of people, once they graduate, they never read a book again?
No, I believe it. I believe it because
Yeah.
I mean, I got my master's degree, and it was afterwards I said, I am not reading. I am not going to read. I'm tired of reading. And then you realize again, you got to read. So you get involved, and we've got a great video that I think kind of shares with everybody what it is that you're doing.
Right.
So we can talk a little bit more about that. So Jason, let's roll that video.
At the age of 33, I never thought that I would get sick with cancer.
I felt great. I felt fine. I mean, there was no problems.
I am an avid gym goer. I was really in great health.
We're faithful people. I was like, that's not going to happen to us. It's not going to happen. So when it did happen, it was like, it took our breath away.
They called to let me know that I was diagnosed with stage 2-3 breast cancer.
A melanoma.
And that's when they told us they found a tumor.
I'm like, okay, well, I guess I have cancer.
We got him into a local oncologist to take a look at him, and he went straight to surgery.
When she looked at me in the eye and said, I had other patients who have had this same thing and they've lived at least 5 years. And that's when it hit me.
When your family's hit with cancer like that, it turns your whole world upside down.
We knew it was there in the back of our mind. We never thought about it. We just made our monthly premiums.
There were several alternative treatments that without the living benefits policy, we never would have been able to afford.
There's a lot of things associated with cancer that the insurance companies do not cover.
Sure, I had insurance. And insurance is great, and I have very good insurance. I mean, I think my out-of-pocket costs were at least $30,000 for that year.
We had the mortgage, we had the car payments, we had private school tuition, we had credit card bills, groceries, okay?
When you're not working and when you don't have an income, things like that are very important.
There were thousands of dollars that we were able to rely on that living benefits policy for.
They actually paid out $343,000.
Nothing that I had financially could cover that other than the living benefit plan.
To have that policy just like that, it means the world.
Had I not had that, I don't think I would be here today.
All that worry, stress, it just evaporated instantly.
You just don't know what tomorrow brings.
It gave me so many different options. Without that money, who knows where we'd be.
That's the power of the living benefits. It's very powerful.
So to me, not only is that a powerful video, because there's so many people that are impacted with illness like this,
Right.
but I mean, when you were sitting there in that meeting, and you started to receive this information, I mean, did you just say, I have got to help people?
There were so many things. Number one, still I was stunned that
Right.
this was just brand new, or at least new information to me. Not new, but new to me. And so I was kind of swimming in that at the moment, but then also realizing if I can teach people these things, and at the time, I didn't know the magnitude of what living benefits meant.
Right.
So that took me a little bit of time to understand how all of that worked and how people are impacted by that, because it's such a massive problem. I mean, we have GoFundMe. And while it's great that people are so kind and they will give to strangers, do you really want that to be your emergency plan?
Exactly.
And all of it takes is just a tiny bit of planning ahead of time. And for pennies on the dollar, you've bought yourself options. You've bought your family peace of mind. There's so many things that come
Well,
with that.
in the video, it said that living benefits have been around for 20 years. And listen, I'm just going to say, there's plenty of us that have been around for longer than 20 years, but that's really not that long.
It's not.
I mean, it's not that long. So, you're in your mid 20s, you're in your mid 30s, maybe you've heard about it. Wonderful, great for you. But if you're in your mid 40s or your mid 50s, you just moved to the normal benefits and you don't really even think about it. So, I mean, tell people what are living benefits and what it covers and all that information.
Well, as exciting as it is to talk about life insurance, which I'm sure everyone
Yes.
always
Oh,
wants
yes,
to talk about that
exactly.
from morning till night. Am I the only crazy person that this is just what we do? But with traditional life insurance, I mean, I make a joke out of it because in this industry, you have to put a little bit of levity on
Sure.
a heavy situation. And so, but with traditional life insurance, I mean, you got to totally commit.
Right,
You've got to
right.
go all the way for somebody to get that money.
Right.
And, there's no stopping short. But what we know is that most people don't die early. So many people get sick, either with cancer, heart attack, stroke, a major accident on the freeway where they can't work for a significant period of time. What do they do then? Because if they don't have large cash reserves
Right.
that they can tap into, then they are at the mercy of whatever their health insurance provides. And while it's great to have health insurance, the majority of bankruptcies are caused by someone who gets sick. 60% of bankruptcies are caused by that. Well, 80% of those people had health insurance. And so the health insurance is great. It pays your doctors and it pays your facilities and it pays for some of your medications. But what if you wanted an experimental treatment?
Right.
Or what if you wanted an alternative treatment? If you wanted to go to South America and, dip in a river or something,
right.
if that's what you felt like you ought to do, your health insurance doesn't cover that. And do you really, even if you do have large cash reserves, which is fantastic, I hope so many people have that, do you really want to deplete those
Well,
reserves
of course.
for this,
Right. Well,
Yeah.
now, and I'm thinking about what's the difference between long-term care and living benefits? Are they apart?
They're not exactly the same. Here's the
Okay.
difference. Long-term care typically is reimbursing you for expenses that you've already paid out, and they have to be qualified expenses.
Okay.
So I know of some people that have gotten every dime of benefit from their long-term care plan, and then I know of other people that have gotten nothing.
Right. Right.
And so what living benefits does, it's your money, and you can use it for whatever it is that you need. And if you don't use it all, set it aside. You may need it at a future time.
Right.
Right? So it's not reimbursing you for anything. It's your money that you can use.
Okay, and I'm loving this topic because I'm telling you, Lesley, I have honestly, and I'm not exaggerating, but everybody knows I like to talk, and everybody knows I love people. I have honestly never had this conversation with someone.
Most people haven't.
I mean, I've never had this conversation with someone, and I know that you do events, and the info. Do you call yours infotainment
Of
too?
course. Yeah, it's fun.
So,
It's fun.
so I know you do events, and is this what you discuss at your events?
It depends.
Okay.
So our company has two signature events. One is called Money 101. It is for men and women alike. This is the class that I went to 4 years ago that really just kind of opened my eyes to some of the possibilities, right? And so it's a dinner class. We do provide dinner there. And it's a grand overview of how you can save money safely. A little bit we touch on living benefits. We talk about compound interest and the time value of money and tax-favored strategies, things like that. And when you can do it in a way where it really draws people in and it's fun and it's inviting and we're not selling anything there, I think that's the big thing. People are kind of expecting a bait and switch because that's what they're used to.
Right.
And when they realize, oh my gosh, they're really not trying to sell me something, they are really giving me this information and I can do with it what I choose to do. People are smart enough to make up their own mind.
Of course.
They just don't know what they don't know.
That's exactly right.
So we don't chase people to set an appointment, and we're not calling them and hounding them for days after. That's not our way. That's
No.
not our model. But then the other event that we do is for women only. This is one of the ones that I host, not only here in Dallas, but also in Washington State, believe it or not. I met a wonderful lady up in Seattle, and so I go up and help her. But Wine, Women, and Wealth is the name of it. We've been doing this for 13 years. It's coast to coast. And it was created because so many times women want to work with other women when it comes to their money. You know, we think a little bit differently. Sometimes women have, maybe they've had a bad experience in the past and they prefer to work with another woman. And it's just a safe environment where they can come in and we have a little bit of wine, we do a little bit of socializing, we do a little bit of networking, and we do a little bit of financial education. And so we may take that living benefit concept and expand on it a little bit more, but we're not covering the wide array that we would cover in a Money 101. We take one component and drill down on that a little bit.
Well, I love it. And, you know, one of the things that we were talking about last night when we were discussing this program today is we talked about how, you know, for a lot of people, money is taboo because they just don't understand it. They don't understand it. They don't know how to make it. They don't know how to save it. They don't know how to spend less. You know, there's a joke in our house between my husband and I. I said, honey, I know how to make money. I know how to make money. He said, yes, and you know how to spend it. You know how to spend that money too.
Every woman knows how to spend it.
So, you know, it's always, you know, we've been married for 13 years. And even when I was married to my first husband as well, my answer was always, well, we can make more money. And believe me, we can, and we have, and we did. But both of my husbands, of course, they were like, let's spend less money, you know. But there's a formula to creating wealth. And there's a formula to being financially stable and abundant. But to a point that you said earlier, you just don't know what you don't know. And you've got to, I think, especially for women, I think you've got to feel comfortable and you've got to go to a place where you feel, to your point, you're not going to get the bait and switch. And you feel safe. And so I love this Wine, Women, and Wealth. How many times a month do you do that event?
Well, here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I mean, we probably do that 6 or 8 times a month.
Okay.
Here in DFW, and like I said, it's coast to coast, so we have it from California to Virginia. You know, we do it all across. And so some areas are obviously larger than others where we have more concentrations of our female representation. But yeah, so we can always plug in. There's a calendar that we can go to and make sure that even if you're in another state and you're hearing this, you know, and you want to go to one of these events, we can always plug you in.
All right. So I feel like, again, when we sit here and we talk to you and you've got all this just wealth of information and knowledge, and listen, wealth and information that we need to learn. So we're going to go to these events, and I want to make sure that everybody that's watching, whether you're watching live or post production, you know, where can they find this information? I mean, do you have a website? Do you have contact information?
I do have a website, so you can go to www. I don't know who came up. That's hard to say.
I know.
ps23solutions.com. That is my personal website. There's a lot of video testimonials on there that you can watch. There's places where you can let me know if you want more information. We can always talk about our events and if you want to attend anything. And then, you know, you can reach me directly. What you're actually seeing on the screen right now is my office number, but I can always give my cell phone number as well. You know, when I work with somebody, I tell them, this is not just a transaction, this is a relationship. And
Right.
so you have my personal number to reach me at any time. And we can always, I can give it or we can put it up on the screen, whatever you
Wonderful.
need to do. Yeah.
Well, now tell me, what are some of your just most fulfilling experiences that you have? Because I'm telling you, I can't even imagine the stories that you have, and obviously you've got to be very confidential. But I mean, what changes have you been able to make in people's lives?
You know, one of the things is that people do not realize that they should have a debt-free birthday.
I like that.
Because there's a statistic on credit card, I believe it's creditcards.com, I believe that's right, that says 68% of people feel like they will never, ever in their lifetime be out of debt.
Are you serious?
Very serious. And what a heavy, dark cloud to carry around with you, my gosh. And all it takes is a plan and sticking to that plan. And the plan is not as difficult as we make it out to be. You know, I sat with a lady not too terribly long ago. She had a brand new mortgage, and she didn't have a ton of debt, but she did have some. And we were going through her budget, and this is not something that I do all the time for people unless they absolutely want it, and I know that they're serious about it. But if they're serious about it, then I will definitely help them to do that. And we looked at everything and I said, okay, how much do you feel like you'll be comfortable per month adding to just your debt? And she said, I think I could do $100 a month extra. I said, okay. And so I plugged that into a system. And when we got back together the second time, I said, okay, you will be completely debt-free in 13 years. And at first her shoulders sunk
She's
just a
like,
little bit.
13
She said,
years.
13 years. I said, that includes your mortgage. And she said, oh my gosh, that's my mortgage too? And I was like, yes. And all of a sudden, she had a brand new smile on her face and a whole
Right.
new way of thinking. And that's what I mean. It doesn't take a lot. It takes consistency and it takes working the plan. And we can all do that.
Well, and it also takes somebody who knows what they're doing. I mean, that's the thing. I think that's why people don't feel like they can get out of debt, or they don't feel like they can create wealth, or they don't feel like they can be financially abundant because
Right.
they don't know.
Right.
They don't have the skills. And it's just like anything else. You know the saying where, some people want to clean their house up before the maids come over? It's like,
Have you been listening in my house or
I
something?
mean,
Is that-
it's like we're gonna have maids come over, but let's clean the house before they come. It's so many people. It's the devil on our shoulder, and we're gonna talk about some great books that you've read that have really changed your life. But that little devil on your shoulder that says, okay, I can't let anybody know my financial situation if it's not perfect.
Right.
Well, I'm telling you right now, nobody's financial situation is perfect, just like nobody is perfect. And they're afraid to even talk to somebody. And I don't know about you, but listen, nobody's judging.
No, and that's just it. We're listening to the wrong little voice that's talking in our head, and it talks about shame and where we should be and why aren't we there yet. And we have all this regret of time that has passed that we didn't do the right thing. You know what? We can't undo that.
That's right. We
So
can't.
we start right now and we make a plan from now going forward. And that's all we can do.
That's all we can do. And you've had struggles. I mean, you have talked and been very open about the things that you've had to overcome. And you've also been very candid about, you worked your ass off. You read and you read. What are some of those books that really changed your perspective? Because we can never outperform our thoughts.
No,
We
no,
have
we
to
can't.
change the way we think.
You do, and it takes time. It's one of those things when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
That's right, exactly.
And so sometimes you may be hearing the same thing over and over and over again, and when the time is right, it will sink in and it will stick, and then all of a sudden you can start making those minute changes. And so I brought a few books. Do you want me to actually show
Yes,
this?
I would love it.
And there was one that I didn't bring only because it was at my office, and I was not at my office today. This was from my home. And you'll see a lot of these, I have them marked. You see all kinds of little tabs
yes.
in here. And if I were to open it up, probably 55-60% of the book is in yellow highlight.
That's how I am too.
But the first one is Lead the Field by Earl Nightingale. Now, this book is old, and it references a lot of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And that was the other book that's at my office that I did not bring, is Think and Grow Rich.
I love it.
And even though some of the stories in there are a little bit antiquated, obviously, because that book is very old, the process and the systems behind it are 100% valid for right now. It doesn't
Oh
matter.
yeah, one of the things I love about picking up a book that was written in the 1930s or 40s or 50s or whenever is you realize the absolute truths are absolute truths. They never change.
Right.
So that means the rules of the game don't ever change. So you can literally pick up a book that has been written hundreds of years ago, and the information is still so beneficial.
Right.
And that's what I love about it.
Right. And it's about, creating a goal for yourself. And, we all hear about goals and whatnot, and that's all great. But that leads me to the second book, and it's called Atomic Habits. And the thing of it is, winners and losers alike have goals. Okay? What makes the difference? Who wins and who loses? It's the systems that they put in place to get there. And this book, there's one line in here that had just so caught my attention. It says, we do not rise to the level of our goals. we fall to the level of our systems.
That's right. And, I think to me personally, because I was in corporate America for years, like yourself, and I think that's one of the biggest gifts that my corporate America experience provided me, as well as my master's degree, is it's all about systems. So when you get out into the world of being an entrepreneur, if you don't have systems ingrained in you, you just, to your point, you can make the goals all day long, the beginning of the year, the beginning of the month, the beginning of the week, but if you don't have systems in place that really force you to continue moving forward, you just stop, you get distracted, you're off on another path.
And I think that's the hard part for entrepreneurs sometimes, especially if you have come out of a corporate setting. You're used to structure.
Right.
And you're used to being there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you're not leaving until 5, and you take an hour for lunch. And whenever you get into this where, oh my gosh,
I've got all the
I
freedom.
can get up whatever time I want to, and I can take a 2 or 3 hour lunch.
Right.
And you're right, you can. But, we always have to be diligent for what we know we need to accomplish. And so, matter of fact, within our company, we call this MSP. It's your minimum standard of performance. What is it that you're setting up for yourself that I will absolutely police myself and hold myself accountable, that I will do no less than this? And if you do more, great. That's just gravy for the week. But it doesn't carry over.
No. Well, and you said something that's very important, and I think that's accountability. Because I think what some people struggle with, a lot of people struggle with, it's difficult for them to just be accountable to themselves. Right. That is, to me, a characteristic of a strong leader. And, of course, a strong leader, you lead yourself first before you lead anybody else. That's why you do have to have somebody that you're accountable to, a workout partner, a friend, somebody in your organization, or a coach, a mentor, whatever. You've got to be accountable for somebody, because most people, they have trouble being accountable to themselves.
And the one thing is, like I used to say this all the time, I can't, and I would put out a reason why I couldn't. But the fact of the matter is, we can all do a whole lot more than what we think we can do. It's just like, if somebody says, I can't run. And if you're out walking and there's a crazy dog chasing you, I guarantee you can run. You just haven't had the proper motivation until now. So now we've got the proper motivation to keep going.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and then this last one, and I want to mention this because before I hold up the name,
right,
some people may be offended by this.
I don't think any of our viewers
Okay,
will.
Good. That's good. And if you are, I really want to encourage you to kind of set that aside for just a minute, because the name of this book is Un-F Yourself. Okay, and I think you can see that Gary John Bishop is who wrote this. This talks about getting out of your head and getting into your life, and all the things, just like what we were talking about listening to the wrong things and the negative self-talk, and it talks about how do you overcome all of that. And sometimes, language like that is enough of a shock factor that it changes how you perceive things, and so it has its place.
Right. Oh, that's one of the reasons Tony Robbins uses profanity, because it does. You've got to think differently. I mean, one of the things that Joe Dispenza says that I love all the time too is, if you don't enjoy or like your personal reality, you're looking around and saying, hey, I don't like my job. I'm not too crazy about the people I'm hanging out with. Maybe your marriage or your friendships aren't what you want them to be. So you're not in love with your personal reality. Well, the only way you change your personal reality is you have to change your personality. You have to change who you are. And I love the way he says that. So you really do have to, you've got to do some work on yourself.
You do.
But the thing is, it's just kind of like, I don't know how you think about it, but it's like you can't go on a diet and think you're going to lose weight and then stay at that. Say you lose 20 pounds. Great for you. I love it. But you're not going to maintain that 20-pound weight loss until you change who you are. You change your lifestyle. You change what you eat. You change your routines. And you do it consistently and then forever for the rest of your life.
Right. It's a life change.
And growth is the same way.
And one of the things that you were talking about just then, I don't care if it's a relationship, I don't care if it's your money, I don't care if it's your debt, I don't care what it is, weight, career, doesn't matter. When the pain of not changing is greater than the pain of changing, you'll do something about
Right. And you know, the sad part about it is you can be compelled to change, like you're talking about, or you can do it on your own. But most people need to be compelled. And you know, I don't even remember exactly how old I was when I accepted that truth. And then I just thought, well, I'd rather just do it. I would rather me just do these things instead of having to be compelled to do them. Because again, it's not if bad things are going to happen or hard things or struggles. It's not if, it's just when. And personally, I know I say this all the time, but I welcome those times because I know that that's when you grow the most.
Right.
So when something bad happens, I just think, buckle up because I'm about to learn a lot and I'm about to grow a lot, you know? But you truly do. You change as a person, but that change is usually you're better than you were before.
Right. Yeah, and self-discipline is better than discipline any
All
day
day
of the
long.
week.
Right.
Right.
Totally. You know, one of my mentors, and who's a best-selling author, is a gentleman by the name of Jeff Olson. And one of the things he says all the time is you always have to pay a price. So you pay a price of discipline or you pay a price of neglect. But we're all paying a price. And if you pay the price of discipline, you have that success. If you pay the price of neglect, that's when the pain or the being unsuccessful or not having the flexibility, or you're going to pay a price.
Do you know, I was listening to, or re-listening, I'd heard this before, Zig Ziglar, his, what is it called, fleas, broom, biscuits and pump handles, I think
right.
that's what it is. And he was talking about how he started running. And, you know, in the beginning, how he didn't like that very much. And but he had written in a book of what size he was, and he knew before that book came out, he had to get himself to that point, right? And, but one of the things that he said that just really stuck with me, he said, you pay the price for failure, you enjoy the price of success.
Right. I love that. And that is so true because you do pay a price, or to your point, you're going to reap the benefits.
And what are you willing to trade your life for? You know, I just went to a Dream Builder program this past weekend. Mary Morrissey is one of the people that has rapidly become one of the ones that I follow and listen to. And amazingly enough, I had not heard of her until a couple of months ago. I couldn't believe it. And I came across a TEDx talk that she had done, and her story was just the most amazing story. And I encourage somebody to watch that if they haven't, you know, look it up and listen to it, because, you know, she was on death's door at 18. And the point is that she had taken on so much shame and so much guilt, and it had made her so physically sick that it almost cost her her life. And how that she did away with that, and now how that she helps people to transform their lives so much similarly to what you're doing, and helping people to think bigger and live these big, bold lives. And anyway, one of the statements that she had made, it says, we create one way or the other. We have no choice but to create. We were made in the image of a creator, and we will create. So 365 days from now, 1 year, you will be living in the future that you yourself created. And we either create intentionally by design, or we create unintentionally by default. And I thought, what a powerful statement.
Right. You know, one of my favorite sayings is you either live a life by choice or you live a life by chance. And it's the same principle. And the thing that my heart's desire is to help each and every person out there realize that you do have the power within you to create the life that you want to live. And it is a choice, and you just have to choose it. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe, like we're talking about right now, that, listen, I'm not any more special than anyone else, and nobody else is more special. So any level of success that you've seen anybody do, you just have to believe with all your heart and your soul that you have the ability, if you put in the same amount of work, to achieve that same level of success. It's not if you can do it, it's just will you do it. That's really it's just will you do it.
Right.
You can do it.
Right.
And I think just briefly, because I swear we could talk all day long.
I think we could.
We could.
I would be fine with that.
This is one of the things that I really, I want to start doing a bunch of audio podcasts as well, because these conversations continue. It doesn't stop here. But, I want to know of everything you've done that has helped you overcome any struggles, any obstacles, any time in your life when you're down, what has been, your top 1, 2, or 3 tools that has helped you?
It always comes down to the people that you associate with, the things you listen to, and the things you read, always. And when I have been at my lowest and I've gone to a mentor and said, I'm what am I doing here? And he looked at me and he said, what are you reading? You're not. What are you listening to? You're not. And he said, put your head down and go back to work. You're going to be fine. And sure enough, once I really kind of got my head back in the game, that's exactly right. And so, for me, I love podcasts that I can listen to in the car. If I'm at home, I always watch, I love Joel Osteen when I eat breakfast in the morning. That is part of my routine. And, the TEDx talks, things like that, those will always lift you up. And
Right.
you have to keep your energy bucket
Yes.
filled
Yes.
in order to stay the course. And I remember when I very first started with this company, there was a lady that she was at the highest level with our company, and she had come here to help us. And she talked to me. I remember we were on a rooftop bar in downtown Dallas, just overlooking everything. It was so pretty. And I was brand new. This was all still so foreign to me, and I was learning how to do these things. And she looked at me and she said, just don't quit. And in a few years, you won't recognize your life. And what I thought she meant at that time was strictly a monetary basis. And yeah, there's that too. But I looked at an old picture of she and I looked at myself. And while I physically looked the same, I'm like, I don't recognize that girl
Right,
anymore.
exactly. I know. I've had the exact same thing happen with so many people, and it is 95% of the people are just existing in life. They are drifting. They are just living. 5%, only 5% of the people are going to try. They're going to attempt to live a life by choice, and 2.5% quit. So the odds are always in your favor to win. The odds are always in your favor to succeed. And as you grow, you change. And that's what's so exciting is it's not just the money that comes.
Right.
Your whole perspective changes, your life changes, and you really find your purpose. And that's when you do find your purpose.
Right.
So I'm telling you again, we are going to have to talk again. And for those of you who are interested in contacting Lesley, getting more information, and potentially even taking advantage of a great offer that she will give you when you contact her, please tell them the best way for them to reach you.
I always respond to phone calls and text messages, and I'm going to give you my actual personal number because this is the best way to reach me. 903-288-7962. That is my cell number. And I love to be able to come in and speak with women's groups and church groups, women's groups especially. I don't know. There's something that pulls me towards that, especially being able to work with women that may have gone through a divorce situation. I'm divorced myself, and so I know what that's like. I know how hard it is to come through that. And I don't know. I think that there's a compassion there in those situations. And for women that are the primary breadwinners in their family, that they've got young kids at home and all of those types of things. I love being able to work with women. And so if you ever know of someone that could use a speaker at one of their events, please reach out. I would love to be able to do that. And absolutely, for those that contact me, we'll have a special offer for you.
I love it. Thank you so much, Lesley. I love what you do and I love who you are and I love the energy. So please, anytime you want to come back and see us.
Thank you.
Until we meet again, make sure you subscribe to the Jens Johnson YouTube channel. Share this podcast with those that you know and love. And please let us know what we can do to help you be big, be bold, and become the best version of you. Bye-bye.